Hello and welcome. I'm Cindy. I blog over at DIYBeautify.com, and I am just passionate about home decor, thrifty crafts, DIYs, just anything you can do to make your home beautiful on a budget. And today I'm working on a project for my master bedroom. It's blue and white, and I've kept those colors for Christmas. And you might be thinking, blue and white for Christmas? I promise you, it can be absolutely gorgeous. I have a flocked tree in there, and thought I'd just show you a couple of the DIY ornaments that I made to go in there. This is just Sharpie, guys. I just drew on a white ball ornament and glittered the top. These projects are over on my blog, so go ahead and subscribe to my YouTube channel, but I hope you'll check out my blog at DIYBeautify.com. I've been over there for 10 years and only on YouTube for about 2. So I have a lot of projects on my blog, and I love sharing the steps for how to achieve what I make. So this is the inspiration for the project we're working on today. These are decoupaged, just ornament balls. These were, I think they were, I don't know, they were white, but they were just dingy looking. They'd gotten old, and I was really gonna just give them to Goodwill. And I thought, you know what? Why not zhuzh them up a little bit and recycle them and make something pretty? So these are the ornaments on my tree in my bedroom. All right, just trying to help you set the scene and so you can kind of picture where I'm going with this. I have blue toile curtains. I have a blue, pale blue floral quilt, and I want to make some decor for my room that really is very inexpensive, but is large, and it's going to give a big impact. In fact, I think I'm going to hang these on Mr. DIY's dresser. So he doesn't know that yet, but my plan is to make some large wood stockings, and we're going to paint them white and then decoupage them with blue and white. And I don't know if you can see behind me right here. Do you see that large ticking striped stocking? Okay, that started out life as just a piece of wood. And I just drew a quick shape, and Mr. DIY cut it out, and I wrapped it in fabric. So we're kind of going to go with that same concept today, except we're not wrapping with fabric. We're going to be decoupaging. I think this is 1/4 inch plywood. It could be MDF. I'm not real sure, but I just hand drew a quick stocking, and my husband cut it out with the jigsaw and also added a little hanging hole. So I have 2 of these, all right? One is a little bit taller. They're very, you can see how different they are. If you want to make some of these and you're not real comfortable with hand drawing, just grab a stocking that you like the shape of, or a sock from your dresser, and trace it and make it a little bit wider. You'll be good. So to start this tutorial off, we're going to paint the stockings. Now when you cut this cheap, any wood that you cut, you're going to have a really rough edge. So you want to make sure that you sand it and almost like round the edges. Mr. DIY did that for me just a few minutes ago so that I could carry on with this project. All right, so I've got some chalk paint, and I'm using Americana Decor Chalky Finish paint in the color Lace. It's a very creamy white, which is just going to be beautiful. Oh, and I should show you what the finished project is going to be decoupaged with. We're going to use some napkins that you might recognize them, okay? And I also picked up some blue and white gingham fabric. So I'm not sure how the fabric's going to decoupage onto the stocking. We're just going to have to see. I haven't actually gone ahead and made this project yet, so I'm kind of going to be your guinea pig, and whatever issues that I have, we'll work them out, we'll make it look great, and we will just get some really cute Christmas decorations out of this, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and paint my stockings first. I do have a piece of just brown, it's a brown paper bag that I cut up just to protect my work surface, and I'm going to turn you so you can see what I'm doing. Now you might be wondering why on earth I'm going to paint the stockings if I'm also going to decoupage them. Well, the reason is I'm only going to decoupage one side, and I don't know if I'm going to paint the back side yet. I'll think about that, but I do want the edge to be white, and I want about 1/4 inch all the way around to be white. But here's the thing, when you decoupage with napkins, just like doing these ornaments, if you're starting with a red ornament and you're using a napkin that is got a lot of white in it, those are very transparent. You're going to see your base color through whatever you're decoupaging with. So for that reason, you know, I don't want to do all the work and then realize, oh shoot, I can see the brown wood through there. I'm just going to go ahead and do the entire fronts and sides of these stockings. Now this wood has been cut and it's a little rough looking, but actually that is fine because I really don't like things that are perfect. I like it to have a little bit of character and a little bit of what looks like age. That's why I had Mr. DIY cut these stockings. They look a little bit like older stockings, that style. All right, so I just want to make sure I'm getting my edge as much as possible. I know you can't totally see what I'm doing, but I'll show you when I'm finished. When you're painting cut wood like that, sometimes just smoothly painting over it isn't going to cover. So I do kind of a pouncing motion, and that is going to get all those little spots that right now I can see the brown. And then you just want to smooth the edge. Okay, so I'm going to finish carrying on painting this stocking, and then I'm going to do my second one, and then we'll move on to the decoupage. Okay, I have my first side finished. You saw me sort of playing around with which side I was going to do, and in the end I decided I'm going to paint both sides because I just want it to look finished on the back. And plus I'm not really sure which side I want to use, if I want the toes to be going, you know, together, or if I want both the toes to be going this way. But you do want to, once your paint has dried, you might have some, like I do, just little bumps, which is either from your chalk paint or it's from painting the sides of the stocking. Some of the little tiny chips of wood got into my paint. So I'm just going to very, very lightly smooth it down. Now this step is totally optional. However, when you decoupage, you want to have as smooth a surface as possible. Otherwise, you're going to see those bumps through your napkin or your fabric or whatever that you're using. So just keep that in mind. All right, that side looks really good. I'm going to flip it over and go ahead and paint this back side. And we'll have to sand the back side as well, so I'm not too worried about those little bits being on my work surface. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and paint these sides next and dry them. And I'm using a heating tool, which just speeds up drying, but you do want to make sure your chalk paint dries thoroughly before you decoupage. The nice thing about chalk paint is it dries super fast, especially if you're just doing a thin coat. So you can be moving on to the next step of this process without having to, you know, leave it overnight or several hours before you can get back to it. So I'm just going to finish painting the back sides of these stockings. Okay, I'm going to give these sides a quick sand. If you need to sand your edges a little bit, do that too. I'm using a foam sander. I don't know if you've seen these. They're flexible, and the back of it is just foam, so you can wipe the dust off. These are really handy when you're doing, you know, nothing too extreme. And this is just a fine grit. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and clean off my work surface. I don't need this brown paper anymore. Well, actually, maybe I should keep it, but I'm going to fold it in half so that all that my paint and little bits of wood chips are on the inside. Now, one thing I took a quick break and I ran downstairs, washed my hands because I'm usually covered in paint when I do crafts. And I also cleaned my brush. I really like the Purdy 2-inch cub. I think it's 2.5 inch cub brush, and I've got a couple of them that I literally have been using for the past decade. I'm not even kidding. The trick is to clean them as soon as you're finished using them. There have been the odd time where I've left it overnight, but I always wrap it up either in a damp paper towel and then wrap that in saran wrap, or you can buy those little paintbrush keepers that is basically, it's just like a Tupperware, and you seal it and then put it in the fridge because somehow that just keeps it moist. But I find that if I clean my brush, and I'm not ridiculous where I've got like a wire brush, nothing like that. I just use warm water, a little tiny bit of dish soap if needed, just to keep it clean and ready for the next use. So now that our stockings are painted and dried, I have to decide which stocking is going to be decoupaged with the fabric and which is going to be decoupaged with the napkins. And also, if I want, like I said, if I want them to hang like this or like this. And honestly, they're going to go the same way because they're different sizes, and I'm using different mediums to decorate them. If I was making them both the same, it might be really cute to have them hanging this way, but no, we're going to have them go. This is my roughest stocking, and so I want to use the smoothest side, which is this side, which means that my other stocking is also going to go that direction. So we are going to work on just one at a time, and I'm really kind of excited to do this fabric one because this is, like I said, an experiment. I've never done this before. Don't know how well it's going to work out, but here's what you're going to need. Whether you decoupage with napkins or, I don't know, scrap of paper or fabric or whatever, you're going to need Mod Podge, or I'm using DecoArt's Decoupage medium, and I don't think it matters so much what this is glossy, and I do have a matte, so I think I'm going to do the glossy on the actual wood stocking to secure the piece to it, but when I finish it, I'm going to use the matte because I don't want them to be shiny. I also have a little bowl and a brush, and you're going to need a marker of some kind. I don't honestly think it matters what kind you use, because my thinking is, because I want to see some of the edge of my stocking, you know, that white paint that we just took half an hour to apply, I am not going to cover it completely. What am I trying to say? I'm going to cut my fabric a little bit narrower than what marking that I'm making. So because I want it to be covered on this side, is that right? Let me just double check. Yes. This is going to be the front that's covered, so I'm going to put this side down onto my fabric. Okay, and let me adjust this so you can see what I'm doing. And I'm going to line it up at the top a little bit. Let's even go all the way to the edge. Because remember, we're going to trace the actual stocking, but we're going to cut a little bit inside of our mark so that some of our painted edge shows. This is one of those water erasable pens, which you can just get it wet and the mark goes away, which is handy when you're sewing. Okay, so you can see basically I've just used my stocking as a pattern and I've traced it. So now what we're going to do is cut it out, and I'm just, for the sake of making this easier, I'm just going to cut my fabric down. All right. So bear with me. We've got our gingham fabric, and on the back side we've marked our stocking all the way around. Now, like I said, I'm going to cut a little bit inside of my marked line. I would say it's maybe about an 1/8 or even a 1/16 of an inch that I'm doing. Because remember, if it's going to be on both sides of the stocking, not both sides, but you know what I mean, like this edge and this edge, I don't want to make it too wide. The goal is just to have a little bit of my paint showing through. I think it'll give it that shabby, chic look, because these stockings painted do look a little bit shabby. I actually have made 5 additional ones of these and painted them white and chippied them a little bit, and I have them hanging both on my mantle as well as my guest bedroom is decorated in red and white cottage Christmas decor, and I have one hanging from the green painted dresser that I recently painted. It's kind of that winter green. It's a very vintagey green. It's very, very pretty. And the white chippy stocking looks absolutely adorable hanging from the front of it. All right. Now, I believe that this fabric is not 100% cotton. I think that it has a little bit of poly in it. And I was actually wondering what I was going to do about fraying, if the fabric frayed, but so far I don't really even see any fraying. All right, so there's our stocking cut out. Now, I have not washed this fabric and I have not ironed it. I don't think I'm going to need to, because when you decoupage, you're really sealing your piece to your surface really well. So I don't think I'm going to need to. Okay, I'm just going to check. It looks like I might need to do a little more trimming. Maybe I will do the inside, because my stocking was pretty much going all the way to the edge. Very close. And I do want to have a little, I want a little more paint showing. But I think I am glad that I didn't just paint the edges, that I painted the entire surface, because, you know, this fabric is not real thick. And I would worry that the raw wood would maybe show through, and I don't want that. That is not the look we're going for. So it's always better to make your cuts smaller, right, the first time, because you can always go back and cut a little more, but you can't add it once you've cut it off. All right, let's see how that's looking. All right, I think the heel, I just want a little bit more off that corner. Okay. And again, we're not going for perfection. This is a very homemade looking stocking. It's not going to be in an art gallery, trust me. All right, so I think it looks really cute. Can you see the vision here? I know you can kind of see it upside down. It's going to be really cute. And if you've never thought blue and white worked for Christmas, I am changing your mind. So I'm just going to leave the stocking sitting there, and I'm going to put a little bit of my decoupage medium into paper plate. Now the best way I think to do this is going to be section by section. I'm just going to paint some of this on. In fact, I might have started off a little bit too big of a section, because I want to be able to press this fabric down so that it is going to adhere really well, and I can press out any creases. So, you know what, I should have taken a little more off the top of my stocking. I think I could probably just do that really quick before the Mod Podge dries. This might be kind of rough looking, but I forgot that I would be somewhat stretching it to press it flat. All right, now I'm going to just turn it over and lift up. This actually is going, you guys, really, really, really easy. Much simpler than I thought. I was like, am I going to have to cut my fabric into strips? Like, I wasn't sure that it would lay nice and stick nice, but it is doing just a fabulous job. And I've got little blobs. I think as your Mod Podge starts to dry in the bottle, you can get little dry pieces. So I'm just pressing it. Yeah, it's just literally working out all of those wrinkles. You wouldn't even know that there were any wrinkles. And I'm going to trim this little piece just a tad. Okay. And when you do it in sections like this, you're able to make any little adjustments that you need as you're going along. So as you can see, as I'm stretching this fabric, it's fitting a little too well onto my stocking, and I'm just trimming a little off so that I will be able to see the painted edge. It's almost like an outline of white paint. All right, that's getting hard in that corner. I'm gonna have to, you do have some what's it called? A little bit of time before the Mod Podge completely dries, where you can pick it up and remove it. If you've got it crooked, you can, you know, replace it, adjust it, I guess is what the word I'm going for. Okay. Probably should have just left that section alone because it's not cut real clean. But let's just give it a little bit of a trim. Boy, it's just a hard angle to try to cut. I really messed it up there, you guys. it. So, oops. Oh my goodness, Millie, what are you barking at? If you've visited my blog, you've no doubt seen pictures of my pup, Millie. She's a little black and white Shih Tzu poodle mix, and she's the sweetest thing, but she can be very vocal. And she barks when she hears neighbors drive by, or, you know, the garbage truck, which can be a little annoying. Okay, that actually turned out really cute. I'm gonna give you a close-up. See the edges. That one, it, you know, went a little low. I don't think that's a big deal. All right, I may actually end up doing both sides of this. I'm not sure, but let's go ahead and anytime I Mod Podge, I do like to do a top coat. What that does is it seals your project. It makes it so that it's easy to dust or to clean. If you don't do it, you'll be sorry. So I'm just gonna, now this is the matte Mod Podge, and as you can see, I just squeezed a little bit right onto my project. I'm gonna use the same brush I was using before, and we're just gonna give it a thin coat. I actually used this gingham fabric and made a little, gosh, what would I call it? Like a little night light for my bedside table. I decoupaged it onto a mason jar and filled it with fairy lights, and then added, you know, a little Christmas decor to the outside, and it turned out really cute. I'll be sharing that over on the blog in the next few days if you want to check that out. I don't know if it'll make it here to YouTube. Probably not, because I didn't take video along the way. It's just pictures. Okay, so this one is done, and I need to set it aside to dry somewhere. Let me just close my bottles here. All right. Now, obviously we went over the hole. If you remember, my husband drilled a hole. So what I'm gonna have to do when this dries, I'll take a little X-Acto knife and go back over that and just cut a little slit so that I can hang it. Okay, we're moving on to the napkin stocking. These napkins are so pretty, and I picked them up at Home Goods last year, maybe 2 years ago actually. They have such good price on napkins, and they're really nice quality. This one, as you can see, is quite large, but it's not large enough to cover. We're gonna have to do a little bit of overlapping, which honestly is fine when you decoupage. So before you get started, you'd never just decoupage your napkin as it comes out of the package. You'll notice there's a ply on the back. I'm just gonna put that aside. I might, I don't know, probably do something else with that someday. But there's another ply, and you guys, it's really hard sometimes to get at it until you start cutting. Usually I try at a corner, might lick my finger a little bit to see if I can encourage that ply to come away from the napkin. And this one is being typically stubborn. Let's try this other little corner. All right, well, once we get going and cutting it, I know that it's gonna come off. So I think what I'm gonna do is, if boy, I can almost get this entire napkin cut from, stocking cut from one napkin. Where's my pen? So I think I'm gonna be able to just cover it in one napkin. I'm gonna have to do a couple of patches, which is fine. We're going to go ahead and outline it again, just like we did with the fabric. And I'm going to cut it a little smaller as well, because again, I just want that edge to show. Now, hopefully as we're cutting this out, I'm going to be able to release that other ply. So I'm going to take a lesson from the last one and cut a little bit further away from the line. Probably I'm cutting about 1/4 inch from the tracing line that I drew. I don't think that paper napkins stretch as much as fabric, but you never know, they might. Let's not put that there. All right. If you have never decoupaged before, it is just very satisfying. And you can create pretty much anything you want. I have used this napkin, this blue and white floral napkin, on pumpkins from the dollar store. Not the big ones. I used some little ones that they were heavy. They felt almost like cement. And gosh, they turned out so cute. I do have a video tutorial on those napkins if you want to look for it. All right, let's see if I can separate this last ply. Boy, this one is really stubborn. Oh, there we go. Usually when you start to cut it, okay, you're probably thinking, yeah, lady, there's no other ply. I promise you, there was. See what I mean? Just so thin and so, it seems like it's fragile, but it's really not. Oh, and shoot, you know what I did? I cut it on going the wrong direction. I wanted to cover this side. So you know what? I'm going to go ahead and cut me another one of these, and I'll pop back in and we'll go ahead and we'll finish this project up, okay? Okay, I've got my second piece cut out. You guys know what I did, right? I forgot to flip my stocking over so that the side that I wanted to be covered was facing down, and I ended up getting the wrong orientation. Good thing I have a lot of these napkins. All right, so let's just do a dry fit. I always recommend you do that just to get an idea of how it's going to fit. And yeah, it looks really good. I think what I'm going to do down here, let me show you. It's ending, my napkin is kind of going in a triangle, right? I'm just going to trim my napkin off there flat, so it's easier to match up my napkin. Now, when you're decoupaging napkins, as you can imagine, it's fragile. You don't want to, you just need to be careful. All right, so I'm going to start at this end. Can you see what I'm doing? Just gonna hold this part down, just like I did with the fabric the fabric stocking. I'm going to brush a little Mod Podge onto the top so I can get it started, and we'll gently flatten it out. Now, don't be surprised if you get some wrinkles. That is just the nature of decoupaging with something as fine as napkins. I promise you it's going to still look beautiful. All right, so then I'm pulling it back to where it's actually glued down, and we'll just add some more Mod Podge and do another section. This is actually easier and faster than the ornaments that I made because we're just working with a flat surface. So your Mod Podge is not having to bend and twist a lot of places. Like going around a round ornament ball is a little bit trickier because you just have, it's a round object. This is much, much quicker. but you do still want to be gentle, and you do have just a couple seconds if you need to lift it up. I'm getting some wrinkles here. As I'm laying it down, it's best just to really go in small sections. I don't mind some wrinkles, but I don't want a whole bunch of them. If I can help it. Now, if you rip your fabric, sorry, if you rip your napkin while you're doing this, don't worry. Just get a new piece, and just you can add your decoupage medium right on top of the napkin where it's ripped, even if it doesn't completely match up. If you're working with a pattern like I am that's quite busy, you can just go right over it. All right, so this is a little big on this side. All right. Just give a little more glue underneath this corner so it's sticking. Let me wipe my hands. Your hands, if you get it's just like Elmer's glue. I mean, it's sticky. And if your hands are sticky, you can rip the napkin. So I just like to clean them off as I go. All right, so we actually finished this one except for that little toe area. So what I'm going to do is see if I can match it up. I'm just looking at the direction the flowers are going, and that one right there matches up really, really good. So, well, okay. I found a spot where my pattern matches up. These two roses match up with these two roses there. So the problem is there's going to be a there's going to be a little bit of extra paint of my stocking showing through. Can I live with that? Or let's see. I know I've got some big pieces here. Maybe we can use a bigger piece. All right, let's take a look at this. Is that going the right way? That's not going the right way. This one's going the right way. But again, let's try this piece. It honestly isn't that big of a deal, but if you're gonna spend the time doing something, I like to try to make it work as nice as I can. Let's see, that one matches, but that one doesn't. I might just be out of luck here. It seems like all of those flowers that match up and meet up are right at the edge of my napkin. Let's see. I think these two work. Well, but then I'm going to have a spot. You know what? Let's go back to that original piece that we had, which was here and here. And I can match my leaves up. I'm just going to make this work. I do need to trim a little bit off here so that it meets. All right. And just outline this. Okay, sorry about that, the dog barking and my analness. I just cut a piece for the end I'm not worried about whether it's matching or not, because I think that was going to drive me crazy, is trying to totally match the napkin. It's not perfect, but I really don't think anyone's going to notice. It's honestly, for me, it's more about, can I live with it? I don't really care what people think. It's if I can live with it. And I think that that is going to look fine. You probably can't even see anything, right? Okay. So we are going to just go ahead and Mod Podge this, or decoupage this little patch right over top of the edge. And I'm gonna flip it, lift it up, and do the same thing I did before. I think I've got enough on that. Oop. You don't want your napkin to stick to itself. All right. All right, so let me think. This is glossy. I really don't want glossy. As soon as you're done, as soon as you've got, do you see that? No, I can't tell either. As soon as you've got your napkin on, it doesn't matter that the bottom layer of Mod Podge might be damp. And mine only is at that end. Then I'm going to cover it with a coat of matte Mod Podge. Now you can do whatever, you know, you can do glossy or matte, or I think they might even have a semi-gloss. I just really prefer my decor to have more of a matte look, especially because we use chalk paint. That's, you know, that's more of a vintage style. It really depends on the style of stocking that you're making. If you're making an elegant one, maybe with some, I don't know, gold, yeah, you might want to use the glossy. Okay, just be really careful when you're going over that section that you may have had to join, because I ended up flipping the corner and I had to put it back down. But literally, you guys, this is done. I'm just going to set it aside to dry. I don't think I'm going to do the back side. Let's see how our fabric one is doing. Okay, it's all dry. I do have one little section here that did not stick. I'm just going to touch it up with some Mod Podge underneath and back on top. Just that little edge got really close to the edge of the actual stocking. Oh, this whole edge did. Okay, so we'll just reattach it. This is a very forgiving project, I promise you. All right, so the next step is to just set these aside, let the Mod Podge dry, and hang them up. And I'm going to take a picture of these hanging in my bedroom. Aren't they cute? So cute. They're very different, but they coordinate and they work together. And with the ornaments that match, it's just gonna be, I'm calling it my soft romantic blue and white Christmas bedroom, because that's the look that it gives. They're just kind of a fun vintage looking chippy-ish stocking made out of wood.